All right, all right, all right. Hello, Drexel Digital Media seniors. Are you guys ready to have a great showcase or what? Are you ready to have a great showcase or what? All right, hi, I'm Jason Schubach. I'm the dean. I'm just here to do a little bit of hyping. I'm so proud of all of you. I'm looking forward to shaking your hands as you walk across that stage in a couple weeks. Families, are you ready to wait for them to walk across that stage? Let's hear from the families. Okay, you're gonna have a great show. I'm so excited. This is always one of my favorite events of the year, and let me hand it off to our absolutely incredible program director for our game design and production program, Robert Lloyd. Here he is, folks.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Dean, for being here. I really appreciate it. Try the veal. I'm here all week. All right. I'm not as dynamic. Oh, he's got me. There's a camera right there. Hi, Carlos. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. I'm not the hype master. Boy, you set a hard line to follow, man. All right. I've been on them all day about this. And please hold. Ta-da! All right. This is not about me, the faculty, or any students, what they accomplished. This is about the students. But I want to set the table just a little bit, let you know how hard they worked to get here and what they went through. Some of you, I'm sure, have heard the stories. Let me give you some context. This time this year, I'm working with the juniors. We're all working with the juniors that are rising seniors for next year. They're all beginning their ideation and forming teams and getting together and having weird ideas. And we're trying to help them shepherd those weird ideas into something that they can actually achieve. So all these different faculty are involved trying to put all this stuff together. Starting now in the spring, they're having all these ideas, they're forming teams. Over the summer, they're gonna kick stuff around, make a bunch of weird experiments. Then into fall, they're gonna start to bring those different pieces together and they're gonna coalesce into a larger project. They're gonna plan, it's all pre-production. Can they actually do this? What tools are they gonna use? What is the line of tools that'll be in that pipeline that will get it from ideas in their head to on the screen as you see today? Winter is when the rubber hits the road and it's full-on production and they planned it, they thought about it, now it's all about building it. By the end of winter, they should basically have an all but done project. And a lot of times in the program, simply getting a functional finishing thing, hooray, get your grade and move on, right? But with the capstone program, we want to make sure that they have time to actually take it to a whole other level. So spring is about polish and getting ready for today to be able to present this project as well and with as much energy and effort as it took to build the project itself to get here. And so let's get me off the stage and let's get the students on here. I know it may not be a theater, but it is a theater. It's our stage for today. So please silence your cell phones, no flash photography, and let's give our full attention to the class of 2024. First up to the stage from the User Experience and Interaction Design program, Clink. Let's start with the drink.
Good afternoon, everyone. I want to open with a quick thought. I think a lot of us have made some stupid mistakes when we were 21, and it's all right. I think back to a mistake that I would often make right around when I first got my ID. And no, I'm not talking about going to Vegas or some club and blowing all my money on a bunch of little delayed there. But the mistake I'm talking about was much worse than that. The mistake I'm talking about is that I would order the same exact thing every time I was out at the bar. And this wasn't a problem that I just struggled with, but everybody on our team, including our friends. And this problem was that drinkers struggle with ordering drinks. It really boils down to the fact that there's just so many drink options out there. It's such an overwhelming variety if you don't know what you're looking at. And at this point, we've really only been drinking cheap beer, so we don't really know what we like or what we dislike yet. And we lack the knowledge to know what certain liquor types taste like and if we like a drink strong or more sweet. So this was a very real issue to us, but we had to see if it was as widespread as we thought. We conducted 3 avenues of research, the first being a social media post. We had 156 people that wrote in, and this confirmed the problem that new drinkers do in fact struggle with ordering drinks. Then we conducted a survey with 120 participants, and this helped to determine our target audience of 21 to 28-year-olds. Finally, throughout the life cycle of our project, we conducted user interviews, and this not only helped us to determine details and features of our project, but actually get into the heads of our audience and figure out what part of the ordering process was such a challenge for them.
So from our user research, we found out that around 90% of inexperienced drinkers said that they had trouble deciding what drink to order at the bar. Additionally, 3 out of 4 of them also said that they were really eager to learn more about cocktails. So to quote our participants, one of them actually said that they were really intimidated when they first went out to the bar. And the reason was because they just didn't know what drink to order. One of them also said that they often felt overwhelmed by the amount of drinks available on the menu, and they wished that the menu would provide more information about the drinks, not just the ingredients, but also how the drinks were going to taste like, whether they were going to be sweet or salty or strong.
After we verified our assumptions, we crafted a solution that aimed to tackle these 3 main problems new drinkers struggle with. It seeks to help our user explore the variety of drinks, develop personal taste, and build their knowledge. Now, introducing Clink. Clink is the better drinking experience. It's designed to help new drinkers find out what they want to order at the bar. It's aimed to minimize the intrusion when used in a bar setting. You can get recommendations with just a quick glance. This ensures that the app enhances the bar experience without disrupting it. We also chose a dark mode interface to help our users see in dimly lit bars without binding their eyes. Clink has a photo-driven design. It features lots of images. Our research shows that users often choose drink based on their appearance. This visual emphasis helps enhance the user engagement and also assist them during the decision-making process. Finally, for our prototype, we leverage AI-generated images to ensure a consistent aesthetic across the application. It also provides a repeatable workflow for the future expansion of the catalog.
Upon entering the home screen, users are presented with 6 daily recommendations. Based off user feedback gathered from interviews and surveys, we adopted a less is more approach, providing all essential information at a glance. What makes Clink more personal is how it adapts to your preferences based off your interactions with each drink. So once Clink learns from these interactions, ingredients and flavors from drinks you like will appear more frequently, while elements from drinks you dislike appear less often. Users can easily save their favorite drinks to a personalized drink list and share them with their friends, making it simple to recommend and discover new drinks together.
So now I'll be talking about the features of the user profile. This is where you're going to see a catalog of all the drinks that you've previously liked on Clink. You're able to customize your profile, and you can also update your base liquor preferences and your taste preferences. On the profile, you see 3 tags that are on the profile, which are auto-generated, and these are from tags that are associated to drink cards. You can also see 2 different tabs on the user profile, the first one being the History tab. This is where you're going to see those individual drink cards that you previously liked on Clink, and they're displayed in chronological order. So this makes it a much more efficient experience for you to revisit any of these drink cards. The next tab houses the collections that you've either created or saved. And for the collections that you have created, you're able to edit them by either adding or deleting drink cards, and you also have the option to update the collection title. So upon user testing, The designs of these flows have been proven to be seamless and intuitive.
Our search flow adheres to established design conventions commonly found in other applications. This strategy aims to minimize the learning curve, allowing our users to quickly and intuitively navigate the app. When you start search, we have autocompletes that can help you quickly find what you're looking for, filters to help you narrow down your selections. You can also explore collections created by other users. Now you know what Clink is, let's see it in action.
What can I get started for you guys?
I'll just get a vodka cran.
Okay, playing it a bit safe. For you?
I'm gonna get the same thing.
You guys really like your cranberry, huh? And for you?
I think I'll do a mojito.
Good choice. Come right up.
A mojito? Where did you even find it?
I actually got it recommended to me by Clink.
What's Clink?
It's an app that recommends drinks to you based on what you like.
Well, I think I made the right choice.
Now that's good. Thank you all so much for taking the time to be here today and listen to our presentation. We're confident that Clink is the better drinking experience. Please stop by our booth to enjoy a free mocktail and learn more about our app. Thanks again, and remember to please drink responsibly.
All right, thank you, Clink. Now from the Game Design and Production Program, Ravenous Forge and their project, Terra Inferno.
And I feel better.
Thank you. Welcome to Terra Inferno by Ravenous Forge.
Before we begin, let's meet the team. My name is Harrison Wilatis. I was a producer and the character animator for the project.
I'm Douglas No. I was also a producer on the team.
I'm Binchi. I'm 3D artist.
I'm Ginger, concept artist and UI designer.
I'm Nick. I did the visual effects.
I'm Chris, and I was the art lead.
I'm Grady. I was a developer.
I'm Anna. I worked in sound and marketing.
I'm Michael. I was the sound lead.
And I'm Joshua, the lead developer. And now we present to you Terra Inferno.
Thank you, sir.
I show away. Humans have invaded the lush world of Terra Inferno, embody nature's wrath in this turn-based tactics meets resource management game, command armies of flora, and create natural calamities to devastate this human onslaught.
Our game had 6 core systems that all had to work together in order to make this game possible. With only 2 developers, this was a serious issue for us, along with being a major concern from other faculty and students. But as you can see here in the graph above, we were able to make it work.
Awesome. So let's talk a little bit about the units and creatures in our games. Let's start with the Florians. Dubbed by the humans, these are the sentient organic creatures that the planet has brought back to life to reawaken the planet.
The humans, on the other hand, are made up of metal and malice, here to rob Terra Inferno of its precious resources and cause ruin. Now let's hear from Bingshi about our character models.
Through a combination of low-poly shapes, pixel art textures, and a bright, saturated color palette, we have created graphics that call back to games like Minecraft and For the King. Next, Chris is gonna talk about more details.
Yes, as Binchi stated, we have used this combination of 2D and 3D to establish a unique visual style for our game. Not only do our units feature this style, but so does our environment. The Florians feature a natural lush biome that contrasts the mechanical, gritty elements of the humans.
This contrast reflects the core mechanics of our game. For the Florians, this is lushify, or bringing the planet back to life.
And for the humans, this is ruin or ruination and draining the planet of its life force.
This tension between human ruination and Florian lushification has a tangible effect on the planet. The once dormant surface of Terra Inferno has become a battleground. It is up to the player, alongside the Florians, to restore the planet, collect its resources, and bring back its power.
And that power is terramancy, which are formidable, world-changing calamities like tornadoes and tsunamis. Terramancy is one of the main ways that the player can gain an advantage over the humans. Now, let's have Nick explain his process for designing a lot of the VFX.
One of the biggest challenges on the visual effects side of the project was blending realistic visuals with our pixelated style. A great example of this is our meteor ability, as we wanted to make sure that it blended into our pixelated world. Our awesome terramancy abilities would be nothing without our beautiful sounds. Now let's have Anna explain how she did our sounds.
To create our sound effects, we mixed together various different clips sourced from both personal and paid sound libraries, making them uniquely fitting of our game's aesthetic. A great example of this is our meteor ability. The Lushify ability is one of our most iconic sound effects. For this, we were inspired by the heal sound effects from other popular games, and we also gave it a bit of a magical sounding touch in order to emphasize the ability's effect on the planet. Now let's have Grady explain how to use terramancy.
It was also extremely important that the player knew what was happening, what they could do, and how they could do it. That's why we spent a lot of time designing our info menu to display all of the necessary information, and that our ability UI was straightforward and easy to use. As you can see, the player can swap between the unit's abilities to move and lushify and all of the terramancy abilities. Now, let's have Ginger explain the design of these menus.
So the user interface also went through a number of iterations. From the start of development, we wanted the user interface to complement the world of the Florians and our art style. So we started by developing a landscape of Terra Inferno, but found this was a little distracting. So we settled on monochromatic pixel art backers that have shape language that match the hexagon world.
Terra Inferno is played on a large hexagon grid. With 6 sides came a host of mathematical challenges, and we spent a great deal of time turning the humble hexagon into a colorful alien setting for our game. Each time you play, a new map is created, so that each playthrough is unique. But it's really the music that makes our world feel truly alive. Isn't that right, Michael?
Yes, the background music changes in real time based on what is happening in the game, making the experience more immersive. We have a day music that is more dynamic and rhythmic, while the night music is more calm and eerie. We composed the night music with using virtual synthesizers and classical string instruments to convey a feeling that is more futuristic and natural.
Thank you for listening. We want to take this time to thank those who made this game possible. We want to thank the Ravenous Forge team, community, and fans who played our game along with giving us feedback. We want to thank our friends and family who are here today and supported us on. We want to thank the game design and production faculty and staff who taught us these last 4 to 5 years, along with guided us through the journey of the senior project. And lastly, we want to thank all the other game design teams who went through the same journey with us.
Harness the power of the planet, save the Florians, and annihilate the human invasion. Scan the QR code above to play the game, as well as come visit our booth over here on the left to play the game.
Thank you, Ravenous Forge. Well done. Moving on to our next project from the Digital Media and Virtual Production Program is BugBytes Studio and their project, Specimania.
Hi everyone, we are BugBytes Studios and our project is called Specimania, revealing the mysteries of ANS's hidden collection. Back in September, Nick Jashushin, the head of the Digital Media and Virtual Production program, reached out to me with an exciting proposal. He knew that for my senior thesis, I wanted to blend immersive media with educational experiences in a museum. This was a perfect opportunity. The MIF grant supports bringing concepts to life that further museum learning. After a few initial meetings with ANS staff, we had a realization of what could be an impactful experience for Academy visitors, so we applied. And in December, we received a grant. This included monthly meetings with the entomology department and museum exhibition designers, $5,000 in funding for technology and project expenses, and playtesting at the museum itself, where we were able to get iterative feedback on our project.
This is going to be our elevator pitch, but I want to talk to you guys about it in a second. So, now presenting Specimania. Specimania unlocks insects from ANS's hidden collection and exhibits digital recreations of them in immersive ways. Visitors using our interactive kiosk display will be able to switch between these virtual specimens and view them in different experiences, including our high-fidelity holographic display and our educational game where you can play as a bee and learn more about their role in nature. Furthermore, you can also observe detailed 3D printed models of the insects up close like never before.
My name is Anna. I am the project lead and a 3D generalist.
I'm Natalia Gomez. I'm the immersive experience developer.
I'm Dante Sorrell. I'm the 3D character artist.
And I'm Wenhao. I'm the Houdini specialist.
So the grant application actually took up most of our fall quarter, with some prototyping being done to show ANS our concept. Our actual project production actually started in January and lasted 4 months until April, when we showcased Specimania over Earth Day weekend. Since April and up until the end of May, we've been refining and crunching on improvements based on our visitors' feedback.
And now we're diving into each of the individual components.
So this is our interactive kiosk display that we designed and built for visitors. The holographic display is able to show our 3D models in a very impressive way with detail when compared to their real-life counterparts that you might see in a museum exhibit. After our meeting with ANS's entomology team, we decided to focus primarily on specimens that were harder to show off in an engaging and effective way. Below our virtual specimen box where we can show our 3D models, you can see a 2D touchscreen display where you can select characters to play as in our B game, as well as select different specimens to show in our virtual specimen box, as we showed during our Earth Day playtest.
Now let's talk a little bit about our B game. So when we first met with ANS, they highlighted how they wanted a true educational component that kids could experience and relate to. So all of the bees that we show in Specimania are local to the Philly area, so that if kids ever were to come across these bees, they would know more about their role in nature and not be so afraid of them. So ultimately, the goals of our bee game is to connect visitors to Philadelphia urban nature, teach visitors about the pollination process and nectar guides, and to provide a fun, interactive way for younger audiences to be engaged with a digital component. We try to make our controls as basic and intuitive as possible. So the left joystick is for controlling the bee, the right joystick for moving the camera and flying higher. One of our most important features of the game is our implementation of nectar guides. Nectar guides are markings, lines, or patterns seen in some flowers that lead bees towards them. Players can activate by touching the eye icon, which makes some flowers glow purple, denoting that these are the flowers that this particular bee is attracted to. And so we basically gamified a bee's day-to-day so that visitors could actually want to come back to continue playing and tell all their friends to visit the museum as well. And these are some stills of our game, including our Did You Know pop-up. This is a little playthrough of our game, and showcasing all of the features of the game. And we also developed this character switching feature where you can switch between the 3 bees we modeled after ANS's specimens.
So Specimania was showcased during Earth Day weekend at ANS, where we discovered visitors consisted mostly of children ages of 2 to 8 and parents in their 30s. The graph to the right provided us with important feedback about how intuitive our experience was, with a large portion of our audience needing an explanation about the game's mechanics. We took this feedback and implemented changes as a result. Overall, we wanted to measure the enjoyment of our visitors, and we found that most kids really enjoyed the game. They were coming back to play multiple rounds, and we even found siblings fighting over who would have the next turn. Adults were even interested looking at the game, noticing that the environment was modeled from our local Philly area.
So the next part of the step is the 3D printed models. At the start of the year, we aim to create an accessible feature for individuals with visual impairments. We believe that utilizing 3D prints would allow people to feel the complexity of the insect anatomy. As our testing progressed with PLA plastic, we discovered that the fragility of the 3D prints made it increasingly unlikely for them to be handled by the public without breaking. Additionally, we thought that kids being able to hold the objects and reassemble the different body parts would be an impactful and educational learning experience. For Earth Day weekend, we made a plastic PLA prototype with removable magnetic parts, and the child picture just proceeded to play with it for 10 minutes. Unfortunately, later that night at the academy, someone bumped into it and it destroyed, so we decided that we can't have the visitors hold it. Printing with PLA plastic was mostly to determine sizing. How small could we make the legs in order for them to be printed successfully? Once we figured that out, it was time to print with nylon powder models downstairs in the hybrid lab, a more expensive material that results in a smoother and stronger polish. This is me cleaning the excess nylon powder after the prints had finished, and while these are still too delicate for children to hold, there is an educational value to display the prints next to the kiosk for comparison.
And this is our digital production process, a technical look into the work you've seen so far. So our workflow started with photogrammetry in reality capture and 3D character modeling in Maya, and then we have hair grooms and textures mostly done in Houdini and Substance Painter. Next, we have rigging and weight painting, which created the skeletons for the insects in Maya. And finally, we have retargeting animations in Unreal Engine 5.
So the Academy provided us with 2 boxes of insects for us to study in the immersive research lab. We were able to capture them using specialized macro photography. Due to the size, they were too small to capture with a normal photograph. Photogrammetry is the process of taking a series of photos around an object and processing them into a 3D generated model. After these scans, they are brought into Maya to work off as a comprehensive reference.
Initially, we thought of using the scans themselves after cleaning them up to make sure to capture as much detail as possible, but our photos never resulted in a complete and perfect scan that was able to be viewed from all angles. So instead, we decided to pivot and use that as reference in our 3D pipeline. The first insect given to us by ANS's collection was the jewel wasp, and it immediately grabbed our attention. It has this beautiful iridescent shell, and the abdomen is separated into 3 segments that allows it to curl up like an armadillo to protect itself. On the left-hand side, you can see some of the early stages of the jewel wasp being modeled in Maya, and we paid close attention to make sure we were as accurate as possible with the different segments in the insect's legs, as well as making sure the body fit the reference.
To the right is the jewel wasp material. The base I created, but one of our peers, Momo, created a customizable iridescent shader that we also used to add a bit of flair for the iridescence material. You can see Momo's work later at the Expo.
Now, before you see the jewel wasp hair grooms, I wanted to tell you a little about the process. Using Houdini, I'm able to generate realistic fur by customizing hair parameters to match their features. And this was an early preliminary test that I completed back in the fall quarter. And while in the grooming process, I utilized scientific journals as resources to cite the direction, the thickness, and the amount of fur. And here is the result of the hair grooms for our recreated jewel wasp.
The scientists also at ANS want to highlight a series of bees from the John Hines National Wildlife Refuge, the U.S. first urban wildlife center that has a diverse amount of bees. This here is an urban honeybee.
And as you can see, here are the final resulting renders of the European honeybee with detailed hair grooms.
The rose mallow is another bee from the collection and was one of our personal favorites just because of her large arms and fluffy body. The scan on this insect came out particularly well, which helped a lot in modeling the differences in these bees.
And these are more resulting renders of our rose mallow bee. It has a more unique fur pattern. The fur on the body has a lighter color, where the other parts have a darker color. And not only that, the rose mallow bee is also fluffier compared to the jewel wasp and the European honeybee.
Instead of completely animating the insects, we decided to go with a process called retargeting in Unreal Engine. This is similar to how 3D characters are animated when you have motion capture data. The process essentially is identifying each bone in the body and telling what to parent to in order for it to animate.
In other exciting news, our senior project lives on. Nick will be running a class called Digitizing Nature, offered in collaboration with the Academy of Natural Sciences. And here, students will be able to learn, practice with concepts, technologies, and workflows for capturing and creating virtual digital twins based on real-world specimens like animals, vegetation, insects, fossils, and more. And we really want to thank ANS staff and Westfall's Digital Media Department for all their support. Thank you.
All right, well done, Specimania and BugBytes Studio. Coming to the stage now from our animation and visual effects program, Team Bloom and their film, Bloom. Yeah, you click through it.
Hi, everyone. We're Team Bloom. I'm Andrew Young. I was the executive producer as well as one of the visual effect artists.
I'm Paige Harner. I was the director as well as a 3D generalist.
My name is Marlon Francis. I was the lead 3D character artist.
Hello, I'm Elizabeth Graham. I was one of the lead character animators.
Hello, I am Norton T. Unger. I'm also one of the main character animators.
I'm Vanessa Urban, and I worked on the lighting as well as environments and the audio.
I'm Justin Kuhlman. I was one of the other visual effects artists.
I'm Leo Dabrowski, director and lead story artist. I'm super excited today to present to you our short film, Bloom. Please enjoy.
So as a human character modeler, my job was to basically make sure that the initial designs drawn up by Liz and D'Angelo translated over into 3D. That involves like building the actual characters in Autodesk Maya, making their clothes in a software called Marvelous Designer, before rigging and adding color to them, and then sending that off into Unreal Engine where they're rendered how you see here.
This is our Beast character. He was imagined by Andrew, fleshed out by myself. Originally, we actually did have a full bear model that was made of wood. However, we unfortunately hit a snag in production and we rerouted to combine fire and wood. This combination symbolizes humans and how we interact with the land that we live on.
So a very important part of animation is, of course, getting reference. So this is one of our examples. We would record ourselves acting out the scenes and then proceed with a rough block out of animation. And now we can see that is all lovely and polished.
One of the major problems we had to face was the dance itself. We had help from the Motion Capture Club to grab motion capture of the animation that we would use as reference. So we would like to thank the Motion Capture Club for their assistance.
And our environments were inspired from Tibetan and Japanese culture, which is kind of reflected in the architecture in the interior of the hut, as well as the furniture, which is inspired from kind of traditional furniture in those cultures. And it's also reflected in the exterior environments and the landscapes, which include native plants and kind of also native crops that we use featured in the story from those regions. And the lighting, I kind of was inspired to try to use the lighting to help tell the story. So when it's the conflict of the story, the lighting is much moodier, darker, with blue tones. And then when it's the conclusion of the story and all the crops are healthy again, it's much brighter and colorful and sunny.
So a vast majority of the effects were done within Houdini and imported into Unreal Engine 5. My effects were the fire in the braziers, the grass growing that you saw near the beginning of the film, and the vines growing down near the end of the film.
Yep. So as the other visual effects artist, I was responsible for the shockwave that you saw towards the end, as well as the wind pedal sim that you can see on the screen, and the fire that was behind the spirit mask. For the spirit mask, I opted to go for more of like a green and yellow color palette to show when it's friendly and approachable, and a little bit more of a red or aggressive color palette when it gets agitated and angry. Like Justin, for the latter two sims, the shockwave and the pedals, I worked in Houdini as well. The pedals were inspired by traditional ribbon dances, and through Houdini's software, I was able to try to emulate that in a wind simulation. So with that, we just want to extend another thank you again to friends, family, and faculty that made this all possible. We really hope that you enjoyed our animated short and come check out our booth at the Expo Hall. Thank you.
Well done, Team Bloom. Coming to the stage now from our game design and production program, Project Bitterroot and Botography.
Thank you, Rob. Become a botanist in Botography, a cozy 2D adventure exploration game. Navigate an uncharted and whimsical region and discover plants with unique and fantastical abilities. Gather materials, grow plants, and utilize their ability to discover the mysteries of the forest and the secrets that lie within. Hello, everyone. My name is Serena Schaefer, and I'm the producer.
Hi, I'm Riley Chang, and I'm the art director.
Hi, I'm E. Berlin, and I was creative director.
I'm Connor Stewart, and I worked on level design and narrative.
I'm Eric Andreski, and I worked on user interface.
Hi, I'm Ben Nab, and I'm an environment artist.
Hi, I'm Heath Bailey. I'm an animator.
Hi, I'm Teresa Merritt, and I'm a character artist. We'd also like to thank our computer science and music industry teams for all their hard work and effort to make Botography possible. We'd also like to congratulate our computer science team for winning the gaming category and coming second overall in the CCI competition. Meet Daphne, the protagonist of our game. Daphne is a novice botanist who embarks on an expedition commissioned by a pharmaceutical company. Her mission is to explore a once-inhabited island and unearth its hidden botanical treasures. As she navigates through the island, Daphne can gather natural resources like water and soil. She can then utilize these resources to cultivate unique plants, aiding her in overcoming obstacles and adapting to the harsh conditions of each region. She can also pick up notes that were left by previous explorers to gather further insight on the island's origins and its flora.
Welcome to the island. Daphne has been given the unexpected task of exploring and unlocking this place's secrets. But it turns out a botanist is just what we needed. By collecting and cultivating mystical plants, Daphne will be able to explore and heal the 5 different regions of the island. Each region has been hurt by humans in a different way, and each has its own story to tell. However, it's all tied back to the death of the massive tree in the center of the island. This violated a fundamental rule of the island, and ever since, it's been extremely dangerous for humans. To overcome this danger and fix the mistakes of her forebears, Daphne will need to learn from the island's ancient inhabitants. She'll look for clues left behind or symbols carved into rocks. Each region is just one piece of the puzzle, and if she wants to unlock the whole puzzle, she'll need to piece it together.
The plants on the island are mystical. There are 15 known plants to be discovered, 11 of which can be grown. Players can grow plants to overcome challenges in the environment. Some plants can protect from weather, while others can assist with travel. Certain plants can be equipped. These will grant access to places that were previously inaccessible, such as underwater or through thorns. These are the mystical Panaceian plants. Find them in the 4 corners of the island, collect and return them to the central tree to restore it to its former glory.
As Heath mentioned, each plant has a unique ability that allows the player to further explore the environment. Let's take a closer look at the design work behind them. From exploration, the player is able to observe 5 levels of sunlight, gather 4 types of soil, and collect 3 types of water. These variables are all factors in the process of making plants. Each plant has 2 recipes, resulting in a count of 22 successful recipes out of 60 possible combinations. To demonstrate both the crafting and map progression, let's focus on one plant, the beanstalk bomber. It can be grown in the oil swamp, from silt soil and acidic water, which can be found in the other regions. Once created, the bomber allows for traversal of different heights, unlocking areas all over the map for the player to now explore and collect new soil and water types. And this is just one plant that the player can make. Because of the way our system is built, no 2 players will explore in the same way. Progression is made by the player for the player.
The world of our game is built using a 4-layer tile map system that allows the player to travel up, across, and behind different elevations of terrain. The Unity engine's default tile map system was limited in what it could do for us, so our programming team made some modifications to help us build the overworld. There are a lot of tiles in our game, with unique sets for each region. Most tiles are just aesthetic, but these 4 soil tiles can be interacted with and harvested as one of the main plant crafting components.
From the start, we knew we wanted to make a cozy game, and we wanted that to reflect that in our design. We opted to go for a hand-drawn art style that capitalized on our 2D illustration skills. It took a bit of time to hash out all the details, but in the end, we came together with a finalized art style that we all had a hand in making. Each region has a personalized color palette and a specific shape language that helps characterize each area and make the environments of our game feel varied and unique. In order to construct all the assets for the world, we needed to make a simple art pipeline. 2 people would sketch out an asset, and then 2 people would line and color them. Although simple, this allowed for us to make a mountain of assets for each region while still allowing us to handle other tasks.
This is what you see most of the time when playing Botography. You can access all the important menus by clicking on the buttons at the bottom of the screen or by pressing the corresponding number keys. Additionally, the flower in the top left corner will indicate status effects, such as changes in temperature. The inventory is where you'll find all the plants and materials you collect on your journey. And by using icons to indicate the Panacea plant slots and the equipment slots, we avoid the need for excessive text, making the UI more intuitive. The lab is where you'll grow all the plants you use on your journey. By requiring the player to drag and drop ingredients from their inventory into the lab, we engage them more in the process and better emulate the experience of being a botanist. We don't want players going through the hassle of experimenting every single time they want to create a plant. Using the almanac, players can quickly recreate previously made plants, as well as access the notes that they've collected in the overworld.
We would like to thank everyone who has helped us along this journey. We could not have done it without any of you. This past year, we lost Daphne Wright, a treasured member of our digital media community. We here at Project Bitterroot wanted to dedicate our game, Botography, to Daphne. For those of you who didn't know, Daphne Wright was an administrative coordinator here in the digital media program. During our production and when we lost her, we were still debating what a name for our character would be. We had gotten pretty far along in the production when Daphne Wright sadly passed away. Our team communicated and we were honored to reach out to her family, and they allowed us to name our character after her. So, I would like to thank Daphne Wright's family for being with us today and allowing us the opportunity to dedicate our game to her. Now, if you're interested in what you've seen, our game is just released on itch.io. You can scan our QR code right up here or check us out at the Expo. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Project Bitterroot, and for the lovely tribute to Daphne, sir. Next up, from the User Experience and Interaction Design program, it's Daytrip.
Hello, everyone. We're Daytrip. We're all very excited to show you what we've been working on these past few months. But first, let's see what Daytrip's all about.
Meet Marcus. Marcus wants to plan a day trip into Philadelphia with his friends. He downloads a bunch of travel apps on the App Store and quickly gets frustrated with the options available. Just as he is about to give up, he downloads one more app, Daytrip. Marcus quickly discovers that Daytrip has many of the features that he's looking for. He explores the Philadelphia destination page, browsing some of the main attractions, itineraries made by other users, and events going on in the city. After browsing for a bit, he creates and saves some of the most interesting places into his collections. From here, Marcus creates and invites his friends to a new trip. He added the first stop and adds another through his saved collections. He sees that his friends also add some suggestions, which he browses over and adds to the itinerary. Marcus glances over the itinerary to make sure that the order of the stops makes sense. A few days pass and Marcus and his friends begin their day trip into the city. The trip is going great until one of their stops has an unexpectedly long wait time. But no worries, in the app, Marcus quickly swaps the stop out for a different location that's close by, and the group continues their trip. Tired from a day full of activities, Marcus and his friends return home, satisfied with their successful day trip. Day trip, your day, your way.
That was a quick preview of our app, Daytrip. We're now going to go over how exactly we built our app,
But first, let's introduce our team. I'm Melina, project manager and also UX designer.
I'm Megan, UX designer.
I'm Ty, UX designer.
I'm Allie, the UX researcher.
Front-end developer.
I'm Kyle, front-end developer.
I'm Andrew, back-end developer.
So the idea for Daytrip was really born out of a frustration with the current options available for travel apps. Many of these apps have too many features, making them difficult to use, or they're trying to sell you an airline ticket instead of actually helping you plan a trip.
So based on our competitors and research, we found that we had three main opportunities to separate us from the rest. To focus on group planning by creating collaborative trip planning tools for groups. To simplify the UI by creating a streamlined path for trip creation and editing. As well as to improve choices by offering expansive features to not hold back our users.
In order to bring this idea to life, we went through multiple methods of research, including user surveys for initial discovery work, user interviews to get a better understanding of how users approach and plan their day trips, and multiple rounds of usability testing to further refine our design concepts and prototypes. Through our research, we discovered our users' planning behaviors through their travel preferences and how they plan their trips. With this, we found that people are often traveling in groups. The day trip is usually planned around one central activity, and there's typically one person in charge for organizing the plan and communication. And the biggest thing is that the current planning process is often difficult and tedious due to the fragmented ways in which people collect information and organize their trips.
We found that our users mainly fell into three main types of planners. First, we have the organizer, who always stays on top schedule. Next, we have the collaborator, who's always planning with their friends. And lastly, we have the explorer, who always goes with the flow. To begin our designs, first we created low-fidelity screens. We wanted to test out our key features as well as our main task flow just to make sure our users can get through our app no problem.
Going from low to mid-fidelity is where we made the switch to a more image-focused design, as well as reworking a lot of our content to include feedback from our usability testing. Moving into high fidelity, we introduced our brand identity through the addition of color and type, while still keeping the focus on the user's core actions. Here, we also work through the itinerary page to include more around collaboration.
The group suggestions feature went through a fair amount of iteration throughout the project. We had initially called it suggestions and had it directly on the itinerary page. However, this confused our users as they weren't sure if these suggestions were provided directly from the app or if it was provided by your friends on the group trip. We made a few changes to the designs to address these problems. We moved the suggestions into its own tab away from the itinerary, and we renamed it to Group Suggestions to make it more clear. We also categorized the places to allow for easy browsing, and also allow our users to like and comment on specific suggestions to promote the collaboration aspect of the app. Overall, this version tested much better with users, and it's one we ended up going with in the final build.
And so to go over some of the software we used Rike to organize our tasks and teams to communicate. Then we also used Google Forms for survey data and Zoom for doing usability testing. And then for designing, we used Figma, which opened us up to using Figma Dev, which was something new for our team. And finally, for development, we used Flutter, which is something that Andrew will go over now.
Thanks. To develop Daytrip, we used Dart and Flutter to develop a cross-platform application from one code base. We then developed our component library to house our components in GitHub, and we set GitHub up to handle our automatic builds. And then we connected our backend with Google Maps APIs to pull in routing and destination details.
So that's how we created Daytrip. Thanks for listening, and you can find our table at the Expo to try out our app today.
Let's plan a trip together. All right, thank you very much, Daytrip. Coming to the stage now from game design and production is Tales from the Orb, and their narrative experience, Little Echoes.
Hello, everyone. What do you pack when you leave for college? What do you pack when you leave for college? What do you leave behind? In Little Echoes, embark on a journey into the mind of Morgan, a high school senior who's about to leave for college. Explore through Morgan's mind in a fantastical yet familiar setting and collect the echoes that are still holding them back. We are Tales from the Orb, and I'd like everyone to introduce themselves.
I'm AJ Easterday. I was the writer.
Hi, I'm Dylan. I did level design.
I'm Evan. I'm a journalist and an artist.
I'm Jade Blissett. I'm a 3D artist.
I'm Jordan. I'm a 3D artist.
I'm Julius. I'm the UI UX.
I'm Owen. I was an environment artist.
I'm Paul, gameplay and systems.
I'm Will. I'm an environment artist.
And I'm Zakaya. I was the lighting artist.
Tomorrow morning, Morgan leaves for college. She doesn't feel ready, though. Trapped by memories of what might have been, she's asked you, the player, that little voice in the back of her head, for a little bit of help. Of course, when confronting all of these big emotions, it's easy to feel particularly small. That's why, throughout this presentation, we want to show you how we made this game around a core premise of feeling alone, feeling nostalgic, and most importantly, feeling little.
As you explore Morgan's mind, you will encounter echoes. These are objects that trigger a memory for Morgan that left an impact on their life. These are also the last things that Morgan has left to pack before she goes off to college. But before they can do that, they must first unpack the memories and emotions associated with them. Through them, our story is told.
We wanted the player to feel small, just like how Morgan feels at this time of her life. The best way to make a player feel small is to make them small, but we do not want the player to fear the environment around them. Instead, we wanted them to feel curious to explore these corners of Morgan's mind.
Since in the game the player is quite small compared to the game environment, we have made the player should feel as if they are in a dream. As such, we have made the movement more floaty and wisp-like. This would also help the player traverse through most of the game space.
And to maintain immersion for the player, entering into the dreamlike environment of the Echo world from the attic, we worked to decide that we wanted to add these dreamlike bubbles that appear to signify the deeper and deeper emergence the player is when entering the mindscape of Morgan.
Setting the game in an attic served two purposes. First, it also doubles as Morgan's room, allowing for a greater feeling of personal reflection. Second, attics are typically used for storage. It's where a lot of Morgan's stuff has been for a while. And as she has unpacked for college, she's also going through things that are already packed and stored away, deciding what stays behind and what she's taking with her. When deciding on how these memories would be accessed by the player, we decided to attach them to the items themselves. These experiences of trauma and great emotion are triggered by going through these objects that are attached to them. As you look through and decide what's worth taking, what's worth leaving behind, you are brought back to these experiences.
So where do you actually go when you touch an echo? You're sent to one of these unique environments that exist inside of Morgan's memories. It's here where the story's core moments take place. But it wasn't enough just to put the players in this environment. We had to make it more engaging. So we created these mini levels that the player can platform through while Morgan regales them with the story of her last year of high school.
We wanted these mini levels to be cluttered and disorganized, just like Morgan's current thoughts. This also gave us a lot of freedom when designing the echo levels.
One thing we wanted to do for our art style was to reflect the aspects of memory that are distorted. We already have this with our massive scale, but we wanted to further this with bright colors and vibrant lighting. Another challenge we faced with our art style was bringing together both custom-made art assets and scans of real-world objects. In order to do this, we decided to use a camera filter, or in other words, a shader.
This is our attic in its most basic state. There's no shader, there's no extra lighting, it's simply our space. And this is our attic now. As you can see, the shader heavily influences the overall look and feel of the environment, which is something we had to be very aware of as we made tweaks. As you can see, the attic as a whole went through numerous changes, all of which interacted with each other and had to blend together well to create our feeling of dreaminess and nostalgia.
Little Echoes is a game about going to college. Its development, however, was a confrontation of the failings of this college. As designers, we had many challenges before us, but these challenges were further compounded by a lack of team collaboration, a lack of organized learning opportunities, and furthermore, the indifferent responses of faculty when these problems were repeatedly raised. We want to first congratulate our peers for their incredible accomplishments. You all put your blood, sweat, and tears into these projects, and we could not be more proud of everyone in this room. What is not often stated is the physical and emotional labor that comes with these projects. Sorry. What is not often stated is the physical and emotional labor that comes with these projects, and this is just a reflection of the exploitation and the erasure within our industry and this school. We ask that when you go out to the Expo today, that you not only engage with these students with what they have made, but how they actually got there. That is where the real stories happened. It is with this premise that we would like to present the trailer of Little Echoes.
Someone once told me that the day you leave for college is the day you grow up. I'm not sure how much I believe them, but staring at all these crammed boxes, the world feels a lot bigger than it did before. I guess that's why I'm talking to you. That little worried voice in the back of my head. Maybe you know something I don't. Maybe you've seen something I haven't.
Thank you all for coming and thank you for listening. We would like to extend a special thank you to Dan Rose, who went above and beyond to ensure our team's development. If you would like to play our game, feel free to use our QR code or check us out at the Expo table after. Thank you. We have been Little Echoes.
Thank you, Tales from the Orb. Next up on the stage, from the User Experience and Interaction Design Program, Traction.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. We are Team Traction, and we're here to present to you your new running partner. But before we start, we've got a little video prepared to show you what Traction is all about.
This is Jason. He's got a desk job and he likes it, but sitting all day takes a huge toll on his mind and body. To help with this, he's been trying to get into running. He knows it's a simple and effective way to feel better. But he always feels exhausted and terrible after his runs. Jason's also tried multiple running apps, but none of them have helped. If anything, they make him feel worse. Running apps just feel like glorified timers. That, or they push him so far he ends up hurting himself. Jason decides to reach out to his coworker Noah, who's been running for a while. Noah mentions that Jason might be missing proper guidance on how to start running, but he knows the solution, the Traction app. Another running app? How is this going to help? Jason isn't sure, but he agrees to give it a shot. Before his next running attempt, Jason decides why not and opens the Traction app. Traction quickly assesses his run level based on his running experience. It even greets him with a pre-run checklist and gives him running guidance for him to read. Jason is surprised he didn't know to do any of this. Maybe that's why he was feeling so terrible. He tallies up the pre-run checklist, he hydrates, stretches his legs, and now he's ready to run again. As Jason starts on a new run, he feels much better. He's much less uncomfortable now that he's prepared himself. However, after a few minutes, he starts feeling out of breath. He gets a buzz on his phone and sees a notification from Traction. It tells him he's been running too fast and that he should alternate from running to walking. This helps Jason a lot. After a short walk, he's back to tearing up the pavement, and he quickly finishes his run. Oh, and now Traction greets Jason with a post-run check-in. He sees his run levels increase thanks to the effort he put in today. And he's achieved an award, which gives him more experience towards his level. Based on his status, he's recommended post-run cooldown exercises that help him recover and get ready to run again. Jason has never felt so great after a run. He's already excited for the next one.
So when we came up with the idea for Traction, we were thinking about this problem, or rather this feeling that I think a lot of us have. We want to live a more active and healthy lifestyle. And we've all done it before. You go to the gym your first day, or maybe you go on that first run, and then next week, well, you just don't go back. So it's with that thinking in mind that we wanted to create an app that will help the aspiring runner get back on their toes. And the idea where that really came in that we wanted to teach them running from the ground up, to guide them through it, to get them from those beginner stages into the stages where they feel comfortable making running a consistent part of their lifestyle. Now, before we go any further, I'd like to introduce our team. I'm Bryant Liu, I'm the project manager.
I'm Izzy Heel, I'm the content lead.
I'm Liam Maley, I'm the UI lead.
I'm Roger Korpix, the dev lead. I'm Tushar Rai, I'm the UX lead.
The first step for our process was to do research. We had two main questions we wanted to answer, which were why do people decide to start running and bring that into their life? And second, why do those people then decide to stop running? Our approach to this research started with primary research, which was initially 50 surveys, which got a baseline information on simply numbers, what apps people use, how often they run, how often it's been since they've run. From there, we took 10 of those people and interviewed them to get a much more in-depth picture of why they run, why they don't run, and all of the emotional connections that come from running. From there, we built out 2 user personas. The first, the stress buster. This is someone who lives a busy lifestyle and is often stressed, and he wants to use running to relieve the stress, not necessarily for the physical benefits, but more for the mental benefits. The second person is someone who wants to be health-focused. They currently don't live a healthy lifestyle, but want to incorporate running into their lifestyle to make it more healthy.
Then we moved on to the secondary research, which included of 3 phases. The first one was scholarly research. In this, we learned how to create an app that helps runners build an habit. The second part of the secondary research was development research. In this research, we basically looked into technologies and frameworks and platforms which we can use to build our app. And lastly, we did competitive analysis, in which we analyzed apps like the Nike Run app, Apple Health app, to just understand the market gap and how can we create a unique selling point. From this, we discovered a couple of things. First, we noticed that there were a lot of running apps that were made for experts and a lot of general wellness apps, but there were no apps for beginner runners. Second, we noticed that there were a lot of applications that focus on victory and achievements, but not a lot for just empathy. And finally, we figured out that gamification elements were a fantastic way to get people who are not familiar with certain things to kind of warm up to it and get used to it.
With this research in mind, we began to design, and we focused on 2 main points for this. The first was we wanted to implement a widget system. This would be a way of keeping our empathetic goals of our app by allowing for users to customize the app to whatever way they want. If you want just a timer, you can have that. If you want several bells and whistles, you can have all those in there as well. The second point, we started to discover as we were developing that most people run with 3 distinct phases. The before run, where you prepare yourself, the during run, where you're actually running, and the after run, where you cool down. And our app accounts for each of those phases in different ways.
The second design progression had a lot of major changes. We applied color and typography to our entire design. Another big thing we did was switch from Apple-style widget system, which you see on the right side, to more so a edge-to-edge style. Switching to this edge-to-edge style helped us with a more clean and consistent look, and also gave a lot of space for us to expand the widgets.
And for our final design progression, we polished up the application by fixing the color palette, we made it easier to use, and we implemented a demonstration version of our reward system.
As for the technologies we used, we started with wireframing and Figma. From there, we moved on to our framework, Svelte, for development. And finally, we hosted our demo on Vercel, and you can use that at our table after the expo.
So like Liam said, you can check out our prototype at our table right over there. We've been Traction. Thank you so much.
All right, well done, Traction. And running from the stands is Abducted Monkeys, and they'll be showing us their project, Lockjaw, Robo-Royale.
Hello, everybody. I'm Spencer Cohen, the producer of the Abducted Monkeys team, and I'm excited to show you the latest and greatest developments of our local multiplayer robot brawler, Lockjaw, Robo-Royale. So, Lockjaw was developed by 9 game design and production students, and I'll let everybody introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Alex, and I was the creative director on the team.
Hi, I'm Matt. I was the technical director.
Hi, I'm Oliver. I was a programmer on the team.
I'm Maya. I worked on audio and UI.
I'm Jordan. I was a 3D artist and I did VFX.
I'm Brian. I was the narrative and level designer.
I'm Shayna. I'm the 2D and concept artist of the team.
I'm Joy, and I was the 3D artist for the team.
And we also worked with an external soundtrack artist, Brian Sinishin.
We also had the help of 6 lovely CCI students who helped with Lockjaw's programming backend and ecosystem. Lockjaw is a 4-person couch party brawler in which you scrap for parts to power up your bots. Use your parts to knock other robots into potential danger. Be the last robot or team standing to win a Robo-Royale. And now Shayna is going to talk to you about those robots.
Great, let's go ahead and take a look at the design process behind our lovely robots. So we went through a lot of iterations when designing our robots around the interchangeable parts. As we refined our design process, we established early on that we wanted to avoid overcomplicating the robot's look so that the equipable parts would be the highlight of our gameplay. Here, we have a look at some of the earliest concepts. We had a couple of inspirations, but the overall vision was to utilize simpler geometric shapes that would be readable from a distance. We ultimately settled on a rounder-shaped robot with a large facial visor and glowing core. The fairies' faces might get lost in the heat of combat, but catching glimpses of them will be sure to add some humor and contribute to the overall customizability of the game. Now, let's hand it off to Alex to talk about the bombastic parts.
Bombastic parts. All right, we're just going to kick this off with our head parts. Now, you'll be able to keep yourself one step ahead of your enemy, as well as giving yourself a second chance in combat. Now we're going to go into our first set of arm parts here. These ones are more melee focused. However, you're going to be able to have more power and speed during combat. With that being said, we're going to go into our second set of arm parts here. These ones are projectile based. You'll be able to launch dodgeballs and explosives. You're going to be keeping your enemies on their toes during most of your matches here. So with that being said, you're going to be keeping your leg parts as well. You're going to be able to drift around, and you're just going to be, oh my god, sorry. You're going to be able to launch yourself towards your enemies, as well as just drifting around to your heart's content. Now I'm going to hand it off to Joy to talk about our 3D pipeline.
Alrighty, thank you, Alex. So with a small art team, tight deadlines, and changing targets in somewhat of a big scope, we had to come up with a very smart pipeline that met the following criteria, which meant rapidly being able to iterate, get it in game really fast, scalable to other edge cases such as rocks, housing a lot of parameters for customization, and being able to hand it off to other artists to easily customize and tweak those parameters. With the master material shader, we were able to meet all of the criteria, sorry, and while being really light on performance. Now I'll hand it over to Brian and Oliver to talk about level and hazards.
All right, so let's get into the arenas where you can battle your bots. Up first, we have the Wet and Wild Waterworks, whose slippery surfaces take you down to an abandoned and overflooded sewer.
Waterworks has pylons and fences meant to zap your parts away and put you in danger of falling into the water below. These hazards can rise out of the ground, so be quick on your feet to keep your hard-earned parts.
Heat things up with Pyro Plunge, and in this map, you can barbecue your bots to a nice internal CPU temp of 165 degrees for medium rare.
In Pyro Plunge, we have rising lava and explosive barrels. These hazards serve to heat up gameplay while creating a safe space in the center for robots to wail on each other.
Industrialize and Dynamic Depot, and in this map, mind the gap between the conveyor belts and all the scaffolding.
Dynamic Depot accelerates you to victory with fast-moving conveyor belts and heavy machinery, which can be activated at the press of a button. Your wits will serve you well here, as luring enemies into traps will result in an easy Robo-Royale.
And don't forget to unwind in Billiards Brawl, where in this map, it does still count as a scratch if your robot goes into the pocket at the same time as the cue ball.
Billiards Brawl may be unsuspecting at first, but spatial awareness is required once the balls go flying. Watch out for those balls and avoid being knocked into the pockets. Now we'll be passing it on to Maya to talk about the audio.
All right, so in order to match the mechanical and futuristic vibe of Lockjaw, I designed most of the sound effects for the game using my analog synthesizer. The environmental ambience that I made helps to add a bit more dimension and depth to all the levels and makes them feel more alive. And the sounds for the parts and the Foley help to add some excitement, but also they add a little bit of necessary clarity to help players understand what's going on, since there's usually a lot happening on screen. And also, as Spencer mentioned before, we worked with an external soundtrack artist, Brian Sinishin, to compose a dynamic soundtrack for Lockjaw. Let's take a listen to what you might hear in game. All right, and now I'm going to hand it over to Jordan to talk about the visual effects.
All right, thank you, Maya. Like any good smoothie, games need a certain amount of juice to taste good, and Lockjaw has plenty to boot, giving it that patented Robo-Glow. We have exciting particle effects with our explosive barrels, as well as dynamic lava and water shaders with streams and mist to boot. Over on Dynamic Depot, you can see an active conveyor belt system, as well as bubbling acid for bots who fly just a little bit too close to the sun. And that concludes our presentation for Lockjaw Robo-Royale. Be sure to stop by after the presentations to take a look at our booth and duke it out to win a Robo-Royale.
Thank you, Abducted Monkeys. Next to the stage and our final team of the afternoon is Outer Reach Expeditions from the Game Design and Production Program and their project, Starshot!
Hello? Okay. All right. Hello, everyone. We are Outer Reach Expeditions, and this is Starshot. Fling, float, and punch an energy core through a zero-gravity spacecraft in Starshot, a fully hand-tracked VR game. As Outer Reach Expeditions brand ambassador, I'm excited to invite you to enjoy this exclusive first look at our most recent journey.
Outer Reach Expeditions invites you to embark on an unforgettable journey in our state-of-the-art spacecraft. Enjoy our beautiful spaces, including fully equipped labs, 2 recreational centers, and a crewmate hub. Interact with me, Stella, ORE's one-of-a-kind AI pilot. Our ship is incredibly secure, but the government mandates we have additional safety features in place. Our patented energy core can manually restore power in case of dire crisis or foreign attacks. Unlike our competitors, we value
Okay, on that note, let's meet the ORE crew. I'm Nicole. I was the producer and a narrative designer. I'm Julia. I was a 3D modeler and post-production artist.
I'm Christian. I was a narrative and level designer.
I'm Chelsea. I was our lead character and motion capture artist.
I'm Walter, lead developer and VFX artist.
Hi, I'm Michael. I was the lead game designer, level designer, and a programmer.
Hello, I'm Alex. I was the lead prop artist.
I'm Phoebe. I was the 3D art lead and environment artist.
Hello, I'm Aiden. I was a level designer.
I'm Heidi. I was the lead 2D artist.
I'm Harry, 3D modeler and rigging artist.
I'm Joey, the UI UX designer.
And I'm Mason, the lead sound designer.
Good evening, everyone. ORE is here to state that everything you'll be seeing today is all doctored footage based on stories written by our crewmates in their terminals during space travel. The tales of Crewmate 41 and our magnificent AI pilot Stella are wonderful and motivate our teams to be the best possible crewmate they can be, but they are merely, but our spacecraft never underwent any system failures, and Stella would never mistakenly wake up an inexperienced crewmate instead of the lead engineer in such a dire crisis. Nevertheless, we hope you enjoy the rest of this presentation, but remember, it's all merely a cryosleep story.
Whoa, there are a lot of you. Okay, I'm Stella, ORE's top-line AI pilot. If you see Crewmate 42 around anywhere, be sure to thank them for all their hard work.
As requested by Stella, here are some fun facts about her. She was designed to reflect the style of the early 70s. She loves sitcoms, and she keeps a blog about all the drama happening on the ship. Recently, improvements to our technology here at ORE have allowed for her to enter 3D space, complete with over 50 unique animations, including motion in her face and hands through the use of motion capture.
Our two-person research and development team have been hard at work crafting custom physics and interactions. Even a seemingly simple system like movement takes about 900 lines of our over 13,000-line codebase.
Since the gravity drives are...
Creating a VR project using fully hand-tracked controls was a complicated endeavor for the R&D team. Over the last 9 months, we spent countless hours refining our core gameplay to make it as intuitive to use as possible. Here you can see an evolution of our mechanics, just to get an idea of how many revisions we went through before settling on the one that works best for us. Now let's break down what those final products are.
Since the gravity drives are off, it's a good thing you have the trusty and stylish ORE Emergency Gauntlet.
This handy piece of tech will make getting around the ship a breeze. Simply grab to activate and pull to fling yourself through the ship.
And the ORE Energy Core is our patented, chargeable, durable, and punchable energy solution. It'll be absolutely essential in restarting the ship's generators.
And interacting with the core is as easy as attach, aim with your wrist to line up your shot, and then punch. You can even launch the ball on a curve to get it around certain obstacles or make a trick shot. But progressing through the ship is where things get more complicated, as due to the low power mode, all the doors have been locked. Gratefully for us, the core works great at getting them open.
Only problem is that energy core will have to be charged first. Scattered around the ship are a variety of ways to get this done, from energized walls to charging stations, as well as a unique array of emergency systems designed to help the core move around or get in its way.
Let's see how this all comes together into a demo of the first level of our game.
Oh boy, I haven't seen these on for some time. These are called energy gates. You don't need to be afraid, they cause no harm to humans, but they will pop the ORE energy core if the charges don't match. Now, this energy station will charge the core so that you can get it past the charged gate. Now let's open that door. Welcome to the lab! Isn't it so beautiful in here? Take a look at that view! To die for, right? Hurry up, 42. There's work to do.
From start station to end door, restoring power to the ship will require you to traverse many of ORE's state-of-the-art spaces, including laboratory facilities, recreational spaces, maintenance shafts, the main hub, and the flight deck. But luckily for you, our ship was designed with safety in mind, ensuring that our emergency systems can run seamlessly.
Here at ORE, we take pride in getting the little details right, too. Our ship has been sufficiently furnished and equipped with everything our crew needs for a complete immersive ride.
Every space is also filled with retro-inspired posters for the crewmates to enjoy as they ride in style. They tell more about ORE's destination planet, their mission, and the crewmates' role aboard the ship.
At ORE, the terminals and main menu are equipped with the latest visual systems, giving Stella the ability to move around and interact with the crew members while they explore the ship, as well as giving the crew members a little breather while they're working hard or hardly working inside the ship.
While the power might be off, the effects are on. Many objects throughout the ship are equipped with our state-of-the-art visual feedback system to tell you what a good job you're doing. These range from big to small, simple to explosive, but all are a joy to behold.
Equally advanced is the ship's audio feedback systems, which have been carefully calibrated to deliver clear feedback and ensure that crewmate 42 remains on task and enjoying themselves as they are busy saving the ship.
We hope you'll join us on the next expedition with ORE. Please sign up and find out more at our Expo booth. We'd first like to thank you for your time and attention today. We'd also like to thank our advisors for all their help and guidance over the last several months. And finally, we'd like to extend a special thank you to everybody on this slide who helped make this game even greater.
Check us out at the Expo, learn more about our team, and support us by going to the website using this QR code.
Thank you, and again, we are Outer Reach Expeditions, and this has been Starshot.
All right, thank you, Starshot and Outer Reach Expeditions, for bringing us to a close. At this point, I'd like to congratulate the entire digital media class of 2024, and I call them to the stage. Come on down. Everybody join us. Ladies and gentlemen, your class of 2024. I don't know if I still have, oh, I do still have sound. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. We're going to do little team shots with their graphics on screen while you come down from the stands and begin to head towards the expo, but I'm going to be tying the teams up. It's sort of like the end of a wedding when the bride and the groom have to have all their photos taken while you go to the reception. So take your time going to the reception, and we'll do the bride and groom photos, and then we'll give you the chance to really experience all these great projects face-to-face, hands-on. And thank you so much for being here. Once again, thank you very much for coming and celebrating the class of 2024. Final round of applause. You deserve it. Well done, each and every one of you. Let the expo begin.